lots of different ways. I found, personally, the first time anyone ever told me about how we can see pictures from God, it just blew my mind, because I grew up in a Catholic church and it wasn't really talked about, that kind of thing. It's just really nice to hear lots of different ways of how people do this. And more recently, through this preach, I've been asking God to talk to me more. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So do we believe God can, will, and wants to talk to us? Do we even believe that he can? So I want, with a little show of hands, can we hear people? Can we communicate with other people? Yes, yes. Even if we are deaf and without speech, we can still communicate. It's really lovely that that's part of our relationship, isn't it? That we can talk to people. Can we hear our internal thoughts and things inside our bodies? Yes. Can we hear negative, intrusive thoughts? Yes. So can we hear the enemy? Do we believe we can hear the enemy sometimes? I do. So then, do we think we can hear from God? If we can hear from the enemy, then I think we can hear from God, right? Because God absolutely loves us, and he wants a relationship with us. And part of communicating is about that relationship, isn't it? And in Matthew 7, verse 7, it says, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and the door will be opened." There are so many verses, and I put them up here, that say in the Bible that God will talk to us. So it says in John, whoever is of God hears the words of God. And so if we believe the Bible and we believe in his love, then he wants to talk to us. Do we want him to talk to us? If I said, where's my mobile phone? Right, this is a mobile phone and it's got a direct line to God. Who wants it? Yeah, I think a lot of us would be like, yes please, I want it. And in the Bible it said Adam and Eve walked in the cool of the day with the Lord, and I just imagine they were like just chatting and strolling, and God was like pointing out, oh look, I made that for you, isn't that beautiful? And I just imagine that, and it was easy, and it will be again. But the thing that motivates us is love. We can't be motivated by wanting to get God to do something for us, or to talk at him. We need to be motivated by love and wanting to get to know him. So we walk around with our fingers in our ears and our iPods on blast, and we sometimes pray and go, God, speak to me, why are you speaking to me? But then we're actually just going, and not listening. So we're going to look at the different problems and then some solutions as well. Before we look at these problems, we need to understand who we are as people. So that we are 4 parts: body, mind, spirit, and soul. So we're going to look at the problems with these just in the back of our mind of who we are and what we are. So the first problem is our motivation and distraction. Creflo Dollar, I don't know if you've ever read him, I've been listening to his podcasts and stuff, he's really cool. And he says, hush and listen. And he was talking about how prayer is a communication. It's not a monologue. It's not a monologue, it's a duologue. And it was really interesting, as I was researching this, sometimes we might imagine God to be a big booming voice, but actually the creator of the universe whispers. Could it be that our creator of the world isn't intrusive and he doesn't want to force himself upon us, but he waits for us and he wants us to be listening to him? So our solution, what's the solution? In Matthew 6 verse 33 it says, first and most importantly, seek his kingdom and righteousness. When we read about Jesus in the Bible, he often goes to quiet places to pray alone. In Mark 1 verse 35 it says, very early the next morning, okay, I'm not an early bird, but some of you might be, that's no condemnation. He was, very early next morning, before daylight, long before daylight, Jesus got up and left the house. He went out of the town to a lonely place where he prayed. So even Jesus, who was God, went to a lonely place where there was no distraction. And so we have to be motivated by love and give him time. Our second problem is lack of knowledge of who he is. In Hosea 4 verse 6, it says, my people are being destroyed because they don't know me. We need to know God's nature. If someone came to you and said, oh, your best friend said this about you, and it was negative, you'd be like, no, I know my best friend. My best friend, they wouldn't say that. I know them. But do we know God? Do we know him? Are we to, if we hear something, go, was that God or was it not? But, so what's our solution for our lack of knowledge of who he is? We need to spend time with him. The only way you can get to know someone is by spending time with them. It's by asking the Holy Spirit to help. The Holy Spirit has been given us so that we can ask him to help us. And we can ask other trusted people we know to confirm. And then we'll know it is him. So first of all, we need to spend time with him. Jerome said, if you take the text out of the context, what are you left with? So if you go, oh, I think God's saying this, but it's something really radical and it certainly isn't consistent with the Bible, then it's not going to be God. It's not going to be God. It's got to be consistent with his character. We can ask Holy Spirit, we can say, Holy Spirit, can you give me help? I need your help. I need you to help me. So our third problem is if we have a lack of trust in him. If we don't believe God can do stuff, or we don't even bother seeking him, then we're not going to see, we're not going to hear him, we're not going to see him. We need to have faith. So we need to have faith. That's the next solution, Nanita, thank you. So we need to have faith. In Hebrews 11 verse 1, it says, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. In Mark 9 verse 24, I love this verse because it's a guy and he says, I do have faith, help me with my lack of faith. So we can ask God, we can say, I do believe, but I have a bit of doubt and I don't have enough. Can you help me? So, the last thing we need to do is invite him. God isn't a scary God who wants to force himself on us. He's given us free will, and yes, he longs to be with us and talk with us, but he awaits an invitation. I know I've chucked loads of verses at you, and if you need me to give you them later, I absolutely can. But when Jesus walks on the water in Mark 6 verse 48, if you read it, it says he was walking on the lake and he was about to pass by. So they were straining at the oars and struggling, and he was just about to walk past. He waits to be invited. He doesn't barge in to talk to you. Again, on the Emmaus Road, he only revealed who he was when they were strengthened by his word, and they sought him, and they invited him to stay with them. They were like, no, don't keep walking, come and stay with us. And then they realised who he was. With Elijah, God comforted him and gave him the sleep and the food that he needed, and then he came to him as a whisper. In Matthew 7 verse 7 it says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. So I want to encourage us, beautiful people, to invite God in.